Hey there, and welcome back to Mass Effect 3. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of our Insanity walkthrough. Now, it has been a while since the last episode in which we started the Leviathan DLC, a holiday break as well as the slight prioritization of the other two series currently active on the channel has led to that. Today, however, Mass Effect is back and we can continue what is arguably one of the best pieces of DLC in the entire franchise. You may also be able to hear that the cold of northern Norway has left me with a slight cold. I hope my voice won't get too bad for the remainder of the video. Thankfully though, we'll start off the episode with some crew conversations, so that I won't have to do that much talking myself. And with that, let's get to it. Last time we followed the rumors of the mysterious Leviathan, and to find out more about what it is and how it might help us fight the Reapers, we tracked down Dr. Garneau, who unfortunately appeared to be indoctrinated. To make matters worse, the Reapers also seem to have a keen interest on finding Leviathan, and so we kind of left the episode with more questions than answers. And of course, as always, our crew will have their fair share of comments about the events that took place. However, as we head into the cockpit here, we see the continuation of an entirely different storyline.
Joker, you asked for news about the human colony, Tiptree.
Hey, Liara, you don't need to worry about that right now.
Now's as good a time as any. I'm getting reports of refugee ships from Tiptree landing on Solarian colonies. I don't have names. I'm sorry. It was mostly children.
Well, Gunny, Hillary, my sister, Gunny's the nickname she's had it since, she's only 15, so if it's children, then maybe I only lost my dad. Kind of an asshole thing to hope for.
Jeff, right now, take any kind of hope you can get.
Thanks. You too.
Right, so not exactly the kind of uplifting news that Joker may have hoped for, and unfortunately it's even worse than that. You might remember the Asari with PTSD that we met back in episode 3, I'll link that on screen right now, and she talked about a 15-year-old farm girl named Hillary, as well as about what happened to her.
Leviathan's mental restraints are odd. My AI shackles served similar purposes, but why add sensations of darkness or cold? Auxiliary power units are depleted to 82.04% capacity. This should be corrected.
Yeah, I'll get it before we go in atmosphere again.
I will run a diagnostic on it.
Edie, we've got 5 of them.
According to the diagnostic, we now have 4.
Alright, so at least Edie is able to cheer us up a bit here. Again though, regarding Joker's sister, I highly recommend that you rewatch that conversation we had in episode 3. The whole thing starts at about 19 minutes into the episode, and I just don't want to spoil the outcome here or edit the entire thing into this episode. So if you still remember what she talked about, then well, now you know, and if you don't, then I'll leave you to connect the dots on your own.
But it feels good to help those people get their lives back. 10 years is a lot of lost time.
And yes indeed, Kaidan here referring to the fact that those scientists we rescued last episode still believed that it was 2176, which was in fact 10 years ago, most likely another side effect of being under Leviathan's influence, albeit one that we were ultimately able to reverse.
Strange stuff back on that asteroid. We've seen indoctrination before, but 10 years. Leviathan had its own private army. You've got to wonder how much longer that would have lasted if we hadn't come along. Just when I thought we were getting a handle on Reapers, this happens. Maybe Leviathan's more than a bullseye.
And yes indeed, that is a good question. Just how useful is Leviathan actually going to be for us? Our journey today will hopefully allow us to find out a bit more in that regard. But first, let's hear what Liara has to say.
Greetings, Commander.
My sources told me the production numbers were wrong at that mining facility. I assumed they were just smuggling red sand. I never took the time to look closer. Too much intel. Too many places for secrets to hide. I'm going to have to start sleeping less.
Interestingly enough then, Liara can't help but blame herself. Both her and Kaidan will actually come with us on today's mission, by the way. Finally then, we head down to engineering, where for a change we can overhear a conversation between crew members. After all, Tali joined us fairly late in this playthrough, and so there is still a bit of a backlog with her that we need to get through.
So, no regrets over fighting the Reapers on a human ship?
Hey, the Normandy's design was part Turian, remember?
You know what I mean.
No, somebody has to keep you from giving all the Dextros a bad name.
That's right. I remember you chastising me on behalf of my species for losing our homeworld to the Geth.
I never said that.
Would you like me to send you an audio recording?
No, I hate listening to recordings of myself. My voice never comes out right. Listen, about what I said.
Forget it.
No, I was wrong. I was young and I was wrong about your people.
I guess losing Palavin put things in perspective.
Yeah, you could say that. How about you? You ever mind serving on an all-human ship?
Somebody has to stick around to keep you in line.
Right, so it's good to see that Tali and Garrus still seem to get along nicely. By the way, in case you didn't know, if neither Tali nor Garrus are romanced by Shepard, then the two of them eventually get together, and here and there you can definitely see some early signs of that.
That mining facility. All those people indoctrinated, losing 10 years. I can't even imagine what that's like. How many other people out there are trapped like that? We need to find Leviathan.
And yes, indeed we do, so let's get to it.
Commander. Shepard.
Right, so we are almost at the end of our conversation to here, but there is one more person who might have a rather interesting perspective for us. And of course, as always when I'm talking about interesting perspectives, I'm talking about Javik.
I saw many strange things in our war against the Reapers. An entire settlement of Densorian were once studying things far beyond their knowledge. Celestial mechanics, morphological simulations of galactic language. Things even we didn't understand. At the time, I thought they were crazy. But now, after what occurred on that asteroid, I wonder. Your Asari continues to question me. I'm beginning to wish her kind had never learned to talk. Many are asking what I eat. They will never know. It is harder to be poisoned that way. Is it true you keep fish in your cabin, Commander?
Right, so it might be a good idea to not let Javik wander up there, and instead of going up, we are now going down all the way to the shuttle bay to get the last few lines out of Cortez and James.
The mining colony was completely brainwashed, and the Reapers retreat the moment the artifact is destroyed. I don't know what's going on, but I know I don't like it.
Well, you and me both, Cortez. You and me both.
That asteroid facility was messed up. 10 years of your life, just gone. You're working out there, sending letters to your family back home. Then you wake up, and your hair's gone. Your kid's in college, and your six-pack has turned into a keg. It's just messed up.
Right, so I think it's safe to say that last episode's events still have the crew talking, and I think we should use that eagerness to now continue our adventure right away, and for that we need to head back to the Citadel. By the way, we are not going to upgrade any select weapons today, as we will use today's mission to showcase one that I think is absolutely worthless, and then we'll find a new one during that mission, so we can't upgrade that just yet. For the time being, though, we want to head back to Dr. Bryson's lab, where the information we gathered last time around might help us find out more.
We need to shield the artifact they've got here right away.
Using Garneau's data, I should be able to accomplish this without difficulty.
Damn thing's been here the whole time. Why weren't we affected?
Perhaps the amount of time spent near the artifact is key. After a certain duration, it affords Leviathan an impressive mind control capability.
And again, no morality points here or for the rest of the episode. The question remains though, is Leviathan actually going to be an ally or just another enemy?
I'd call it dangerous as hell. Bryson's assistant tried to kill me.
Perhaps Leviathan was controlling him to protect itself, diverting people away from its trail.
Maybe. It just shows we don't know what we're dealing with yet.
Despite the risk, this artifact remains our only link to finding Leviathan. Perhaps we could find more information about it here in the lab.
Agreed. Bryson's team might have turned up something we missed. I'll look around.
And we can start looking around right behind us, once again examining that artifact.
Bryson's assistant, Hadley. Do we have an update on his status?
He is in a vegetative state. The doctors believe it is permanent.
But the miners recovered when the artifact was destroyed.
Hadley lost consciousness when he attempted to answer our questions about Leviathan. It may have been a deliberate attempt to silence him permanently.
And yes, indeed, it appears as if Leviathan is all but friendly towards us at the moment, so we're definitely treading a dangerous path. The data file here, meanwhile, then shows clear signs of the artifact's influence, first deemed uninteresting and not really important, when suddenly the tone shifts and the artifact is called definitely safe, and it is recommended to keep it and be near it at all times. And well, we know how that turned out for Bryson's assistant, so despite it being shielded, we might not want to spend too much time here.
They were testing the artifact for energy emissions.
And found nothing. Still, I recommend leaving it shielded.
Anything interesting about the artifact structure?
It is not constructed of the same compounds used in standard Reaper technology. Beyond that, nothing of relevance.
Oh, and yeah, of course, we also still have the husk head. So, nothing useful in this office, so let's head over to the next one, where we can first lighten the mood a bit before we continue our investigation.
Loch Ness Monster?
Plesiosaur.
Loch Ness Monster is more interesting.
Interesting and non-existent.
Right, and with that, we now want to take a closer look over at the project information over on the counter here.
Edie, what project was Garneau working on when he found the artifact?
Basilisk.
Got anything on Basilisk?
Several ships, a mythical creature, and a rare mid-tier enemy type in the Galaxy of Fantasy video game. It possesses a gaze attack capable of triggering synced animation kills. Player forums describe it as overpowered.
I meant the project, Edie.
Oh. Then, no.
There's got to be something here on this artifact. What about the server?
Bryson's assistant wiped the office server and destroyed all backups, likely before killing Bryson. However, records show new messages on Bryson's personal comm terminal upstairs.
Could be worth a look.
And indeed, that is where we will now go, as nothing else in the office can actually be interacted with at this moment in time, maybe except for the husk heads, but well, you already know where that eventually leads us.
A message from Dr. Bryson's daughter, Ann. According to my records, she worked with her father.
I'm at the dig site in the Pylos Nebula. Project Scarab paid off. I've got another artifact like the one Garneau found. I think it could be affecting people's behavior. You need to shield the one in your office. I tried to warn Garneau, but I can't get through. We've got Reaper scouts coming in toward the main site. I'm heading to the secondary base to grab what research I can.
Ann Bryson was attempting to contact Garneau on the asteroid colony. She seems to know something about the artifact.
And yes, indeed, while that absolutely indicates that she might be in big trouble, it also hints at the fact that she might have more valuable information for us. So wherever she is, we definitely want to track her down.
She's the only one who does. Wherever she is, we have to find her.
She sounded concerned for her safety. If Reaper forces are closing on her position...
Then we find her first.
She said she was in the Pylos Nebula, working for Project Scarab. That cluster contains several systems. I'll call up the nebula on the galaxy map. We may also search the lab for clues to narrow down her location.
Alright, and so the search for clues around the lab begins once more. This time though, it is not quite as extensive as it was the first time around, although we have a few other interesting bits and pieces to interact with as well.
The Reapers. Let's hope we find Ann before they do.
And yes, of course, the Sovereign fragment here is hardly a clue. Maybe this thing around the corner here is, though.
Can you identify this, Edie?
It originates with a pre-spaceflight culture, but there are none recorded in the Pylos Nebula.
Okay, so this isn't helpful either, but perhaps a tour through the rest of the office reveals some more information.
Does anything in Ann Bryson's work history suggest where she might be?
Nothing relevant.
Any idea if Project Scarab involved Element Zero?
Unlikely. We may learn more from the Project Requisitions Locker.
Any correlation between Project Scarab and these unexplained creature sightings?
Not beyond Leviathan itself.
Right, so quite a few of the clues we used last time around are not really useful this time. However, the PDA over here reveals an important piece of information, namely that Ann Bryson used a ship called the MSV Icarus.
Ann Bryson flew out on a ship called the Icarus. Can you track its movements?
No. The Reapers have disrupted civilian comm buoys. But we might learn more if we find the ship's specifications.
And well, conveniently enough, the console over here helps us do exactly that.
There are specifications for several ships here. We need to find the Icarus.
And there it is. That looks like the Icarus to me.
The Icarus. Here we go.
The ship has enhanced electrostatic discharge cells. They facilitate long-range FTL travel.
So they jumped to the Pylos Nebula by mass relay, then flew to another system.
Yes. Otherwise, they would have chartered a less expensive ship.
Okay. We can rule out the relay system.
Alright, so that helped us narrow down the search at least a little bit, although Edie also mentioned the Project Locker earlier, and we'll take a closer look at that in just a second.
What about criminal activity in the Pylos Nebula?
Because the area is part of the Attican Traverse, criminal reports are unreliable at best.
Right, so crime activity also not useful. How about that locker then?
The locker is secure. We must locate an access card to open it.
Well, thankfully that access card can be located right in the drawer over here, so let's find out what was and maybe also what wasn't taken from the locker before Ann Bryson departed.
Access card for the requisitions locker?
Yes. According to records, it was last used by Ann Bryson to obtain equipment for Project Scarab.
Let's see what Ann Bryson requisitioned for Project Scarab. Didn't need an environmental suit. Didn't take breathing masks. Water recycling equipment.
Based on what Ann Bryson did or did not requisition, the dig site was arid but habitable.
Get me a filter for systems with compatible planets.
Right, so you will never actually be able to interact with all of the items in here. 3 is the maximum, but do make sure to pick up the assault rifle weapon upgrade along the way.
Based on the search data, it is one of these 2 systems.
So let's add that second filter and see which one it is.
Based on the data, only one system remains a viable possibility.
Good. Let's go get Ann Bryson.
And yes indeed, with the Huskhead screaming goodbye, let us now leave the lab. We have found all the information that we need and can now return to the Normandy. Right, and with the location of Ann Bryson in our hands, there is nothing stopping us from firing up the galaxy map immediately. We need to get ourselves over to the Pylos Nebula, one of the systems we have not been in at all yet. And there we are, and as you remember, we ruled out the relay systems, so we have to travel a bit. Planet scanning will, as always, be featured at the end of the episode, so we can head straight over to the Zahirian system. The Normandy scanner then helps us pinpoint Bryson's location.
I found something.
Right, so we have located a habitable planet, although it is not really inhabited. Apparently, that is what tends to happen if you bring Vorcha along, so we might run into some of those, otherwise the planet is in fact very much deserted. Still, we do also locate an active power source, which might very well be our dig site. At this point then, we can assemble our team and investigate.
We have located Ann Bryson's dig site.
And with James and Edie getting a chance to shine last time, today the spotlight is on Kaidan and Liara, which I have to admit might not be the optimal squad selection, but more on that later. For now, we can equip Shepard with the Scorpion Heavy Pistol, and yes, I am very much of the opinion that this is one of the worst weapons in the game. Still, I want to show off as many of the guns as possible, this one included. With the attachments, we can then increase weapon and power damage. The latter will be useful, as we won't actually fire this weapon all that often. You can also see here that it is a fairly heavy weapon for being just a pistol, so power use is also somewhat limited by that. With Liara, meanwhile, we will make a long overdue switch to the M5 Phalanx pistol. Her previously equipped Acolyte does have its fair share of problems too. The Phalanx, meanwhile, is a bit more straightforward and easy to plan for. Finally, for some reason, Kaidan is still sporting an Avenger and will switch that over to the Maddock immediately. Perhaps a sign that we haven't really used Kaidan as much as we should have.
Okay, so we have reports that this dig site was under attack, right?
Right. Edie, can you tell us anything else?
This is the main site of a series of excavations established under Dr. Garrett Bryson. Staff records confirm the project lead is his daughter, Ann. She has recently uncovered another artifact possibly linked to Leviathan. That discovery must have made this dig site a target.
And yes, indeed, it is a lead, but time is definitely not working in our favor here, so we should touch down as soon as we can to prevent information falling into the wrong hands.
Yes. The attack means the Reapers are one step ahead of us. We need to pick up the pace. And since Bryson's daughter is our only lead, our objective is clear. Cortez?
Nothing so far, Commander. If she's down there, she hasn't responded to our hails. Getting some strange signals, though. Give me a minute.
The artifact she uncovered may have caused additional problems. Who knows what we'll find?
Agreed. Take us in closer.
Copy that.
We have hostiles! Take us in. Commander, on the landing platform! That's her. Okay, let's get... Damn! Tracking multiple bogies! Get us over there. Negative, it's too hot. Heading to lower platform. Hang on. There, go! Jump!
Got it. Get it covered.
This isn't a dig site. It's a war zone.
Move. She's somewhere above us.
Hello? Is anyone there? I'm coming down.
No, stay where you are. This is Commander Shepard of the Alliance Navy. It's too dangerous. We'll come to you.
Yes, okay. You should take the elevator up on the far side.
Copy that. We're on our way.
Right, so I think it's pretty clear what we're dealing with here. The site is a mess and the Reapers are attacking in full force. To make matters worse, our currently equipped weapon is an absolute pain in the ass to use. As you can see, it fires slow-moving projectiles, exactly the opposite of what you need in a fast-paced firefight. Now we'll get to see it in action a bit more in just a moment, although we already want to take note of the fact that at this point we only have 21 shots left, which is roughly on par with most of the shotguns in the game.
Through here.
On the task at hand, meanwhile, our target is of course still Dr. Bryson, and we better move fast as it looks like the Reapers have the same idea.
Commander, they're swarming everywhere up here.
Can you find a place to hide?
I'll try.
Right then, into the first fight, and for now we're just facing a few cannibals, good opponents to test out the Scorpion and to demonstrate just how frustrating it can be. Now, we already briefly touched upon the slow-moving projectiles, which can make hitting moving targets extremely difficult. However, it's not just that, the projectiles themselves also don't actually do any damage on impact. Instead, they stick to whatever they hit, enemy or surface, and after roughly 2 to 3 seconds they explode. Now granted, that explosion deals a good amount of damage, is potentially capable of hitting multiple enemies, and also suffers no damage penalty against enemy armor, but all of that comes at the price of what I personally find to be an almost unbearable delay between firing the weapon and actually seeing it do something. The Scorpion's features make it more or less impossible to quickly react to anything, and I don't feel like the fact that we are almost wielding a small grenade launcher here can make up for that. Still, as you can see, it is enough for us to wipe out this first group of cannibals, and at this point we can also retire the Scorpion already and exchange it for the AT-12 Raider shotgun that is lying on the floor here. It is described though as a semi-automatic shotgun, and you'll soon see what that means. For now though, we can pick it up, sadly not attach any upgrades yet, and continue our journey. In the container that we're currently in, we also want to make sure to collect another SMG upgrade, and then the Reapers once again make life difficult for us.
Another path.
And that other path is right behind us, a ladder leading to the top of the container. Up here we can also collect another melee kill and then get to know one of the ways in which this mission can be absolutely unfair to you, as those harvesters flying around everywhere are continuously bombarding the map.
Looks like a bridge over there.
And there really isn't anything we can do about that. If you're not at full health, 2 shots will kill you, so we better use some Medigel.
Controls are broken. Someone try to fix it. I'm on it. Wires look fried, but I think I got it. Just give me a sec.
Healing up before this fight is very much recommended though, not because of the husks, but because of what comes next.
I think that did it! Raising the bridge now!
Right, so a Banshee has dropped in and we're not really equipped with a good weapon to deal with it. With abilities like Warp, Overload and Energy Drain at our disposal, the barriers are not actually that much of a problem. The issue is more that damaging the Banshee with weapon fire requires us to get extremely close, and with a Banshee that is usually not where you want to be. Ultimately, all of that made this fight here a bit messier than it needed to be. Of course, it also would have been possible to just run away and cross the bridge. But climbing the ladder at the other end with a Banshee breathing down your neck is also a fairly risky endeavor. So I would say it's best to deal with it here and take it out.
Move! That elevator can't be far!
And indeed it isn't. As a matter of fact, just 2 more ladders stand between us and it. Of course, the harvesters are once again making life a little bit more difficult for us. So yes, it is totally possible to just die in the middle of the map here with no enemies in sight.
This way.
2 more husks are then dropping in front of us, but those are not a huge challenge, and with that we've made it to the elevator.
There's the elevator! Got it. Ann, the elevator's blocked. Is the Copy that.
Right, so we are facing the unsurmountable distance of what looks to be 3 to 4 meters. Enough reason for us to take another lengthy detour, but at least we can grab some more loot along the way. Now, this next group once again features mostly cannibals, a good use for Liara's singularity. Amidst all the chaos, we also don't want to overlook the data that we can salvage for 2,500 credits here, and just like that, Liara is already down. Miraculously though, she comes back to life without me actually doing anything. Not quite sure what that was about, but together with Kaden she can now hold off the cannibals while we focus on the Ravagers. And Concussive Shot is obviously the bread and butter ability to do that, not only because of the immense stopping power of fire explosions, but also because our current weapon literally could not hit the Ravagers from here even if we tried. And so, after cleaning up the last remaining stragglers, the area is clear once again, and we can take another ladder upwards and onwards. A lone cannibal in the next room then presents a great target for another melee kill, and at this point we also want to help ourselves to another medkit and heal up, although we probably should have done that the other way around.
We're blocked. Find another way.
Once again then, it's up another ladder, and yes, this map can be a bit confusing at times. Don't worry though, it is actually fairly linear.
We can make it through here.
Commander, they attacked my assistant Hopkins. We're being cornered.
Stay hidden, Doctor.
We're trying, but there's too many of them. Hurry!
A lone cannibal then once again presents an excellent opportunity to grab another melee kill. By the way, I did a full recount between episodes. We ended the last one with 59 of them, so we only need 41 more for the Brawler achievement, which is actually quite a bit, but as you can see we are making good progress. This next area, meanwhile, features an enemy that should most likely be tackled from a distance, as we absolutely do not want to get close to a brute, but thankfully taking them out has never been a problem in this series so far.
Ann, are you still there?
We're barely hanging on. Hopkins is wounded. Are you close?
We're moving as fast as we can. Hang in there. The platform's coming down! Around. Go around.
Right, so it looks like the situation is getting more and more tense. We definitely need to reach Ann Bryson quickly.
No, Boyles, stay down! Oh, God!
What's happening?
Kirkwood and Boyles tried to run for it. The Reapers got him.
Don't move until we get there.
And as you can see, we are still not anywhere close to actually getting there. This time more cannibals as well as a marauder have dropped in right in front of us. The easiest way to take them out in my opinion is to just stay here and drop a singularity on them. And thankfully we do have Cadence Overload to deal with the marauder's shields, although it looks like that won't be necessary. Still, we only want to move in once every visible enemy is down, as soon enough we are ambushed by a harvester, and we definitely do not want to deal with that and also still have other enemies to worry about. Luckily, this one will retreat as soon as we damage it just a little bit. 1 or 2 fire explosions are usually enough to get the job done. However, after grabbing another medkit, more enemies are waiting around the corner, once again including a Ravager, so once again it's a good idea to stay behind cover and let Concussive Shot do most of the work. This also makes the subsequent part of the fight a bit easier, because as you can see there are also cannibals around, and I would much rather deal with them on their own and not reinforced by mobile artillery. Once the coast is finally clear, we can also help ourselves to an assault rifle upgrade and some more credits. A good amount of the loot on this mission is actually fairly easy to miss in my opinion, simply because the map layout usually offers multiple paths, which are usually also all swarming with enemies.
The elevator's up ahead!
Get to it!
And yes indeed, we have finally reached the elevator, this time for real, and while we wait for it to come to us, let's help ourselves to some more credits and a medkit.
Elevator's online. We're coming up.
Please hurry. I think Hopkins is dead.
He tried to run. I told him not to, but he wanted to help the others. Where did everyone go?
And yes indeed, no easy way to say this, both options here are not really what she wants to hear, I imagine. We get no morality points either way though, so we might as well go with the one at the top.
I'm sorry, they didn't make it. Doctor, I need you to come with me.
Oh god. Yes, of course. I was at another dig site when they attacked. I got back as quick as I could, but what's happening?
Shepard, look!
I'm not sure, but it might have something to do with these paintings. Is that Leviathan?
Yes. Yes, we think so. It's old, much older than my father thought. And there, as if the natives were under its power. Clearly a Reaper, but acting alone. Not like any Reaper we've seen before.
Doctor, I understand you found something recently.
The artifact. Yes, of course. Incredible. It's just ahead. May sound strange, but I'm certain it affects people. Their behavior. I've only had a short time to study it.
Not strange at all. Did you find anything?
Not much, but I did learn something about the energy it generates.
Get down!
What are they doing?
They've activated it. I've never managed anything.
Doctor?
They've learned too well. The darkness must not be breached. Shepard!
Take it out! Got it!
You okay? Cortez, we have Ann Bryson. Need a pickup.
On my way, Commander.
Copy that. You see the shuttle, you run. Don't look back.
Okay. Yes.
Right, so we're on to the big finale here, and this time we do have to take out a harvester, which itself isn't actually too difficult if it weren't for the numerous other enemies.
You need to get rid of that harvester. I'll bring it down.
So yes, this here is the approach that I found works best, and also why Liara is with us today, despite the fact that she otherwise isn't too useful against armored enemies, unable to cause fire explosions and the like. Her singularity is very convenient in keeping all of the cannibals on the map busy, allowing us to focus all of our attention on the harvester.
Okay, Cortez, get in here. Copy that, Commander.
Now at this point, all we technically have to do to complete the mission is to wait for Cortez to pick us up, but that would be a bit too easy and also not the completionist approach. So instead we are also looking to grab all the loot in the area, some of which is unfortunately placed in the container right on the other side.
Shuttle ready for evac, Commander. Copy that. Everybody, let's go!
And in order to get to it, we need to fight, or at least run through, quite a bunch of enemies, now also including marauders. Thankfully, we have access to Adrenaline Rush to quickly get us out of dodge, and so we can now help ourselves to another medkit and some more credits from a data salvage. Cortez and the shuttle, meanwhile, have already arrived, but let's not take any unnecessary risks at this point, so only once the coast is moderately clear do we rush for the extraction point, completing the mission and unlocking the Family Matters achievement.
You okay?
Yeah, Commander. I think so. I blacked out.
Leviathan took control of you. We cut the connection before you got hurt.
Leviathan itself? That's incredible.
The Reapers seem as interested in it as we are.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way.
We were hoping you could help us figure out why. But first... Doctor, I have some bad news.
Ann, please. Suppose Leviathan's broken away from the other Reapers. Never went back to dark space. Like a rogue, or even a defector. I have to call my father. He'll want to know.
Ann, you need to listen to me, okay? Your father is dead. I'm sorry.
He's... What? Dead? He can't be dead.
And yes, at this point, I think Ann Bryson is very much aware of the dangers her father's work posed, so I don't think that there is any need to rub that in further. Instead, for what it's worth, let's just explain what happened.
We met with him, hoping to find out what he knew. Something happened.
Something happened?
You're not the first to lose control. Your father's assistant. One minute he was fine, the next, he drew a gun on your father. I couldn't stop him.
I can't believe this.
We have to find out what's behind it all. You're the only one who can help us. Ann?
I want to see his office.
We'll arrange for transportation. Meet you there.
Commander, you've got a new message at your private terminal.
Alright, here we are back on board after what was a comparatively short mission. And indeed, we do have ourselves a message from none other than Grace Sato, the Alliance technician that we rescued from Ontarom. You might remember that mission. That was the one where we collected 13 melee kills in the span of just a few minutes. Now, of course, the events of today's episode once again have the crew talking, and so we start another short tour here to get input from all of our crew members, and we start that tour as always in the cockpit. However, this time only Edie has something to say.
I have formulated a psych profile for Dr. Ann Bryson. She is not used to death, but she may be quite capable under stress.
What are you thinking about, Edie?
The holographic theory of existence posits we are just two-dimensional information painted on the cosmological horizon. However, the holographic consciousness I recognize as myself is only able to perceive matter and energy. Thus, I am able to theorize the true nature of existence but never experience it. Possibly even the Reapers are limited this way.
Okay, bad question.
Right, so Edie, obviously bothered with more than just recent events, will leave her to it and instead head down to the crew deck next, where we can have a brief chat with the man who accompanied us on this mission, Kaidan Alenko.
So a Reaper goes rogue and kills one of its own. And that's what we're looking at here, right? Bryson really was onto something big. Amazing. A lot of smart people in this galaxy. I'm a lucky guy to work with so many of them.
And speaking of smart people, we actually have one working in the office right down the corridor, although for a change, Liara is in a much less somber mood than usual.
At your service.
What is it with you and rescuing scientists from dig sites that have been overrun by hostile forces? If you decide to help her take down the Shadow Broker, I'm going to be jealous and somewhat concerned.
And yes, indeed, there are some similarities between Ann Bryson's rescue and the rescue of Liara back in Mass Effect 1, although at the moment I can't really see Bryson running an intergalactic spy network, but that might just be me.
I can handle the Reapers that run around, or the ones that crawl, or the ones that shuffle menacingly toward you, but it's the flying ones that give me the creeps.
And well, I'd have to agree, although they're not so much giving me the creeps, they are just simply put the most dangerous Reaper units out there, rivaled perhaps only by the Banshee. Interestingly enough, the Harvesters actually also have non-Reaper counterparts that their Reaper versions are derived from. They are not really featured much, but appear briefly in Mass Effect 2, where they can be briefly spotted on Tuchanka, as well as on the foggy planet of Tarith. That just as a side note though. Now let's listen in to what Javik has to say.
If Leviathan is a defector, a Reaper that broke away from the others, then it is also a traitor. And traitors are never to be trusted, even among the enemy. If they can betray their own kind, imagine what they can do to you.
And that is actually a very good point that we should keep in mind, especially with the big finale of Leviathan coming up in the next episode.
I was just thinking about the Banshees. The Asari are so beautiful, and to see that done to them.
The Reapers have done the same to most intelligent species they've encountered. Humans, Batarians, Turians, and even Krogan have been modified into Reaper foot soldiers.
But not Quarians.
No, the Reapers have not encountered your people in significant numbers.
You don't think it's because of our weakened immune systems?
No.
I just assumed we weren't useful.
Quarians are intelligent, adaptable, and technically adept. You would make excellent Reaper soldiers.
Thanks, ED. I think.
Tali, The Normandy has benefited greatly from your work, and your people are providing vital support in the war effort.
We wouldn't be doing as well without the Geth. And we wouldn't be doing as well without you.
Thank you, Tali.
I'm glad Ann Bryson got out safely. I just hope we find Leviathan before the Reapers do.
Tali and Edie then with a pretty lovely conversation here, touching upon the fact that the Quarians are one of the few prominently featured races that the Reapers have not yet turned into abominations.
If another Harvester keeps me from dropping you off on the target LZ, so help me.
Esteban, don't let those oversized roaches push you around.
Mr. Vega, taking on a sky full of worm necks and a troop transport is like sending you against the Earth invasion armed with brass knuckles.
What, you don't think I could do it?
And finally, Mr. Vega himself has some more valuable insight of his own.
I don't know the scientific measurement of a shitload, but that seemed like a shitload of harvesters.
And there we are, this more or less concludes this second of 3 chapters in the Leviathan DLC. We are not quite done with the episode just yet though. After all, we have a brand new system cluster to scan. And so let's get to it, fire up the galaxy map and find our first and actually also last target in the Zahiran system. It's just a wreckage holding more fuel, allowing us to top up our reserves. Then, as we make our way over to the Darada system, a quick word on the Brawler achievement.
Signal confirmed.
Like I said, we wrapped up the last episode with 59 melee kills in total. Today we acquired only 3 more, I actually had hoped for slightly more than that. Either way, that puts us at 62, so we still need 38. In the meantime, we have located both another war asset as well as another load of fuel, and with that our scanning tour is also almost complete already. At this point, only the relay system is left.
I found something.
Once again, we have 2 points of interest here, the first on the gas giant Isolé, and scanning its surface reveals another war asset, this one a dissertation featuring some data that might just help our scientists construct the Crucible. In the other spot then we find, surprise surprise, more fuel. And with that we're done. The Pylos Nebula has been 100% scouted now, and as a result we can now return to the Citadel. And there we are, once again safe in Citadel space and ready to tackle the grand finale of this DLC. That will have to happen in the next episode though. For today I think we have reached a very good point to make the cut here. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.